Hey guys, I'm Kimberly from FQSflosstube, and I'm here today to show you how to make this wonderful pillow. I've taken our free mystery Bats and Boos cross stitch, and today I'm going to show you how you can add fabric to any cross stitch piece and put it on any pillow. And if you want to finish it not on a pillow, there are finishing ideas at priscillas2000.blogspot.com, which is Priscilla Blaine's blog, and she finished the Bats and Boos this way. So we've got two options for you, but I hope you join me today and I'm going to show you how to make a pillow. For our pillow, we have selected this fabric as an inner fabric and this as an outer fabric. We've decided we're going to leave a 1/4 inch past the stitch piece to show before we add our fabric, and we're going to use a 1/4 inch seam. So because of that, we're going to measure 1/2 inch away on all sides. What I like to do is use a friction pin so that I don't cut incorrectly. Here we want to measure 1/2 inch away from this little guy, which is going to be about 1 inch from this black line. So it's easiest, let's just draw a line 1 inch from this edge of this black. And we're using a friction pin. It will disappear with heat later, so if we think it's too much or too little, we can put the iron over it and try again. And this gives me a good guide to just kind of start with, to see if I like it. So kind of auditioning the size, auditioning everything before you do it, because this might be a little too big. And the ghosts on the edge, they touch at different points. That's why I found a piece on the inside to try to measure from. So if you take this and we go a 1/4 inch in, so I've got the 1/4 inch line on this drawn line, and put my fabric here. And we can decide that that looks a little bit too fat. So instead, we're gonna draw a line 3/4 of an inch from that black line and see if that looks better. So this is all trial and error, and that's why it's fun to just take your time, go slow, don't be in a rush to do it, especially if you're new at finishing. Sometimes finishing can make me have a little bit of anxiety because I'm scared to do it. But just relax and give yourself grace if at first you don't succeed. So now I'm going to try the 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to put the line on my Creative Grids ruler, this 1/4 inch line right here, and you can see it's on this inner line. And I'm going to put my white fabric on top, and that looks to me really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and trim there. I'm going to again put my Creative Grids line right on that 3/4 of an inch line. When I make my second cut, I will line up the top with my ruler, and then this 3/4 inch line here, because I really want to be against this line here. Just do the same thing all the way around. Now we're going to set aside this piece, and we're going to move and cut both of these fabrics into strips 1 3/4 inches wide. I've taken my inner and outer fabrics, put them right sides together, and there is a fold at the bottom. And to make this super easy, I'm just going to cut 2 strips that are 1 3/4 inches wide. Move my fabric and cut again at 1 3/4. And I'm just making these super big so you don't have to worry about doing any kind of quilting math or sewing math, and just chop these off at the end. And now you have 4 white strips that are going to be your inner and 4 black strips that will be your outer pieces. And they're much bigger than what you need, but this is much easier to just cut it this way and trim it down as we go. I'm going to cut this strip in half, and we're going to add to the sides first. It really doesn't matter which side you add to, and this design doesn't really have a top and a bottom either, so just pick 2 sides. I'm just going to leave this longer and we'll trim it down. And what I like to do is put my fabrics right sides together, my Aida fabric up and my quilting fabric down, and I'm going to use these Wonder clips to keep this in place. I'm not going to use regular sewing pins because I don't want that to accidentally prick one of my stitches or pull anything out. So I do use Wonder Clips when I am finishing cross stitch. We're going to go to the sewing machine. I have a 1/4 inch foot on my machine, and we're going to stitch down both sides. I am going to leave the fabric on top and the Aida on bottom, and I'm using a stitch length of 2.0, and I'm using an 80/20 universal needle by Schmitz. So you can see I stitched past where the Aida ends, and that's going to help secure your stitches, and I am not using any type of back stitch. I forgot to mention that when I'm stitching this, I am using a light gray thread, color 2600 Aurifil. Now what I'm going to do is I don't want the iron to touch this design too much, so I'm going to just press my seam over here and over here. Then I'm going to finger press this down, run the iron across it, and you can tilt your iron where it's just pressing the fabric part and not the Aida part. And then you can do the same thing on this other side. Now, if you don't mind, you can iron on your piece just like that. This is Weeks Dye Works though, and it's hand-dyed thread, so it suggests you don't. Now I'm going to trim these flush. To do that, just use your Creative Grids ruler and just cut all the way across. And this keeps all the math out of it, not having to worry about the size of your strips. So here I will take one more strip and another strip here and do the same thing. And stitch down these two seams with a 1/4 inch seam. Setting your seam just means putting your iron on top of your seam. It will kind of lock it in and make it easier to press to the other side. And from here, I am going to trim off these sides. Instead of doing this, we're going to add the sides first, just like we did here. Now here I'm going to actually use pins because I'm not working with the Aida cloth underneath. So I'm going to pin all the way down both of these sides, and we're going to just do the same thing. Add these with a 1/4 inch seam, and we're going to use that same gray thread. And just repeat the previous. Set your seam, rest to one side, and oh my gosh, this black is really making this piece look really nice. It kind of just pulls it all together. So fabric choice, anytime you're working with a pillow, is going to be really important. This time, when I cut, I will align this on this seam and just cut across. Do the same thing here. And then we're just going to add these two pieces to the top and the bottom. I'll trim those down. Just right sides together and do the same thing. And then once we have this done, we will be ready to attach this to the pillow. So again, here's our pillow. We bought an 18-inch pillow form and stuffed it with an 18-inch pillow. So we've got links to both of those below. So now I'm going to put this on top and decide how much black I want to show. On the one I've done like this previously, I left about this much. So if I do that, we can decide how much we want to show. So we're going to do that. I'm going to move the pillow out of the way, and I'm going to show you a product that is amazing if you're a sewer or a quilter. There's two products. They're the same thing. One is a hot hemmer and one is a hot ruler. The reason the hemmer is called a hemmer is because it's got this round edge and it's just, you know, you can do more with it. But when I'm working with the pillow, it's a little bit harder to use because it's not long and skinny. So I prefer the hot ruler for this project. It's the same exact product. You can iron on it and it's going to give you this really nice straight edge. So what I will do here, I'm going to put this 1-inch line on this seam right here. I'm going to go with 1/2 inch. You can see through the line, so you can put that 1/2 inch right on that seam and you can see it. Fold this over. And maybe leave your iron about 5 seconds. I am using steam, that way it'll get nice and flat and it's going to create that fold for you, so when you do your applique stitch, you've already got a fold and you don't have to do it. So you can look on the front, and what you can also do is you can measure to make sure that it is pretty straight across. So I'll go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to do 2 opposing sides and then 2 other sides. So again, I'm going to use that 1/2 inch line, and I prefer to start with a bigger fold. Just see what it looks like before you do the small one, since the bigger fold you can get the crease out, but the smaller one you can't. So I have both of these products at home, and if I'm working with something smaller, I'll use this, and if I'm using something longer, I will use this, but they are the same product. So I'm going to press on the front just to give it a real nice crease. Now I'll move to the 3rd side. And I'm just using the lines on this. You don't have to use the lines. You can just guesstimate if you would like also. Do the last side the same way. I did cut these strips much wider than you needed because I feel like having this go all the way back when you put it on your pillow, it's less likely to ride up and have your raw edges show once it gets used a lot. So I cut my borders wider, and that way you have more options to pick your border side, but also I like this to go really far back, so when I'm stitching, this raw edge won't eventually come out. So my first step is I want to place this on my pillow and get it centered. So I'm just going to use a ruler and just kind of see if from the edge of this to the edge of the pillow where the seam is on the side of the pillow comes out about the same. That's 3.5 and that's 3.5. So that's about center. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to do some magic. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put these little pins, and I'm going to put them straight up and down so that it doesn't move on all the sides except this side. That will keep it in place, and having them stick up, they won't get lost in there. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this. This is magic. Stitch witchery can be used for all kinds of things. I'm going to go with the wider side today. So this is 5/8 of an inch. Find the end, and you're going to cut it shorter than the side of your pillow. You want to make sure it's shorter because this will get on your iron, so you do not want your iron to touch this. So you put it underneath. You don't want it too close to the edge because you're going to hand applique this stitch down, or whip stitch it. I just call it appliquing it down, but I want it to be somewhat in. If you get it on the edge, it's going to get on your iron. So it doesn't matter if you use steam or not. It doesn't matter. Right now, since your pillow is puffy, just try not to burn yourself. It should not come up. And you can see it's stuck down right there. And you're just going to keep moving, and that's going to keep it stuck down nice with no pins when you applique. If you left these pins in, I guarantee you would start pricking yourself as you're sewing. So this is kind of a little cheat. And I'm going to go around 4 sides. Now to store this, I find that putting a little pin in and then putting it in your drawer is helpful, or the stitch witchery will just kind of unwind itself and go everywhere all over the place. And this will really last you a long time. I mean, I hardly ever have to buy this, and I use it quite frequently. I've selected some applique needles by Tulip. We're going to use these to hand stitch this down, and I'm going to use black thread. The color number on this is 2692. Whatever fabric you select for your outside, that's the color thread you want to use because it's going to melt into your pillow more than your fabric. So whatever this fabric is, pick that thread color. We're going to just cut off a little piece of thread about maybe 18 inches. So from the side you cut, you want to put a knot in your thread. So I like to wrap the thread around my finger, twist, and I have a knot. From the side you didn't cut from, that is the side you want to thread your needle. I selected the Big Eye applique needles because it's easier to thread, and an applique needle is going to be nice and long so you can make longer stitches if you want. So just pick any side, you can start anywhere. I'm going to just pull this needle through, put the needle through the center of this black. I'm going to put it right way back here. So when I pull my needle, that knot is way over here. It's never going to pull through to the front. Because I'm right-handed, I will go this direction and just pinch so that you're just stitching through the pillow cover, not the pillow. I mean, either way, it really doesn't matter. And what you want to do is go down right by where you came up in the orange, come right back up. You shouldn't be able to see your stitch. When you get to this corner, I'm just going to be moving the fabric behind, and I'm just going to use this needle to push this back down. The smaller the stitches you take and the closer you get them together, the less likely you will see your stitches. So having this nice dark black thread that matches the fabric is helping. I want to go right to that point. So I'm going to put the needle right in that point. Go right back down in that point and just keep going all the way around. So I'm going to stitch all the way until I run out of thread to show you how to end the thread. Down to the orange, up to the black, create a loop, put your needle in your loop and pull it real fast. If you pull it too slow, your knot might be in the wrong spot. Put your needle, hide it underneath, go way under, pull it all the way over and snip it. Thanks for making a pillow with me today. It's been a ton of fun. I can't wait to see what type of pillows you make, and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you next time.